So the past tense is a grammatical tense used to talk about the past. In the past, whatever happened in the past, whether it was a state or an action that we performed. For all such things, we use past tense, right? The past state, past habit, past hobby, past action. And typically, its forms is the verb only which changes, right? And typically, it's formed by adding ed to the base form of the verb. Not always, but typically it's formed that way. Like I noted it down in my notebook. I respected the person who walked in. So we just add ed over there. But when we have the irregular verbs, then in the irregular verbs, what do we use? We use the appropriate past form, like write, wrote. I wrote it yesterday. I wrote an essay yesterday. She said this to me. I did not say it. So when you use the word did, how we use it in the say form only, and she said it to me. I said this to him. So we, in the irregular verbs, it's not I said or I writed. The things
Recording
change.
in progress.
There are regular verbs and then there are irregular verbs. This is what we have to remember. There are many, many words. Irregular verbs are few, just about 100 plus, somewhere around 150. If you memorize them, the way we memorize other things, if you just memorize these, the list is available everywhere, in the dictionaries, on the internet, on our site, everywhere we have, in our grammar notes also we have. If you memorize just 10, the past forms of 10 words also every day, within 10 days, you will have all these past forms on your fingertips. So we can do that. So let's move on and understand each now. Right? So this past tense, as I just told you, is used to talk about the past actions, events that occurred at a specific time in the past, at a specific time. If I say that my sister has gone, now there's no time, so I say my sister has gone. When, the moment I mention when, yesterday, in the morning, last week, then I use the past tense. My sister went in the morning. She went last week. So when you have this time mentioned, then you use the past tense, right? For example, here, yesterday, if yesterday is mentioned over here, then I walked. I walked to the store. Also, understand the pronunciation of the words. See, if I say I walked, see, it doesn't sound correctly. So you can note down that if you have a word, a verb that ends with k sound, it ends with k sound. So when you add ed to it, so we don't pronounce it as walked. It is not walked, it's walked. The dictionary also shows the pronunciation this way. It's walked. You have to sound over there. I'll give you another example. If the word ends with s sound and you add ed word, I mean the verbs over here. For example, let's say missed. So I should not say I missed my bus in the morning. See how much of MTI is there, the mother tongue influence. When I say I missed my bus in the morning, fluency also gets affected. Instead, how should it be pronounced? I missed my bus in the morning. See the difference? I missed my bus and I missed my bus in the morning. So even in pronunciation, we need to be so careful. Another one can be when a word ends with f sound. GH also has f sound. For example, if I use the word laughed. Laughed. So it's not, oh, everyone laughed at me. When I said something funny, everyone laughed at me. No, everyone laughed at me. See how the pronunciation changes our fluency. Just note it down. So it's a rule you practice with 3 or 4 words every day, and within a week, that MTI will be taken care of, right? We also have it with the P sound. For instance, let's take one word. Maybe, you have a fight with someone and they say, oh, she slapped me. No, it's not she slapped me, but she slapped me. That way. So T sound is there. I'm just putting the sound over here, right? She slapped that way. So with the K sound, with the S sound, the first sound, with the P sound, if you have ED, the sound is of T when you talk about things in the past, right? So it's not walked, it's walked. It's not missed, it's missed. It's not laughed, it's laughed. It's not slapped, mapped. It's not that, it's mapped, slapped. And when you have Ch sound, right? We have Ch also. Yesterday my friend came to the party in a new dress, and it was so good to see that she was so careful. She matched everything, matched her accessories to what she was wearing. So matched. So again, we have the T ending. So just be careful with the pronunciation also, right? So yesterday I walked to the store. She went to the party last week, So went, go, but then it is went. So for yesterday, it is went. Instead of study, studied. They studied for the exam all week. So again, we are talking about something that happened in the past. Something that happened in the past. When I was younger, I played soccer, I played football, I played volleyball, anything. When I was younger, when I was in my college. Well, when I was in the previous organization, and when I was in 10th standard, in IELTS, in speaking, you are asked such questions. So what was your favorite subject in your school days? Well, when I was in my 5th standard, my favorite subject was maths, but as I grew up and moved to 10th standard, then my favorite subject was science. I'm using was over here. It's the form of the verb be. I'm sure you must be familiar with the verb be, right? It has its forms. Present, the forms are is, am, are. And in the past, the forms are was, were. Like we say V2. So V2 for be is was or were. Okay, then she told me that she had already finished her work. So when you have to report something, you used, she told me, she said to me, all such things. He said he would call me later on. So you use these past forms when you report about some things, when you talk about a state. I was. So we are talking about a state in the past. We use the form of the verb be. And then for the events, for the actions, how we use the V2 form or the past form of the verb when we're talking about past. And then we have the other tenses also, like past perfect. She had already finished. So let's move on and understand the different variants of the past tense. The past simple, right? Some of you told me that it can also be called simple past, past continuous, past perfect, past progressive, past perfect progressive. Let's understand all these in detail. So simple past. When do we use simple past? And please remember, note down a few things. Ask me questions if you don't understand, because we have an exercise also based on it. You should be able to give me all correct answers then. So when do we use simple past tense? If you have to talk about a completed action in the past, event in the past, something that finished in the past. It's over. It happened in past time. Or a series of past events, like some of you entered the class, you noticed what was happening and then preferred to keep yourself on mute. So you entered, noticed, preferred, all in simple past, right? So it's a series of past events. Everything happened one after another. Or if you have to talk about past, I used to play cricket. When? In your college days, in your school days, when?
In my school days.
So that has to be mentioned. Otherwise, the sentence does not convey the sense, right? I
Okay.
used to play cricket in my school days. No, this creates a lot of confusion. Many people use this used to wrongly. They talk about present using used to. So remember, it is used to talk about past habit, past hobby, right? In my school days. The same thing can be put in a different way also. I played. So this is past tense. I played cricket in my school days. So when we talk about past event, you cannot use used to, right? You cannot say yesterday I used to go to the market. But if you have to talk about a past habit, past fact, then you can use used to. Used to is a model. We'll have a separate class on models, but used to is a model, and it can also be used to talk about past fact and past.
Chandama, keep the phone down.
Just put yourself on mute, please. Alps Riv. Okay, so I played cricket. It's okay. In my school days.
You had write my to my.
Yes. Have you sent me any sentence? I love to eat chocolate, but I'm on dieting now, so I can't. Good one. So you've used both the tenses correctly. Very good example. You're talking about the past habit, then you're talking about present. So understand that when you talk about past hobby, the past fact, you can also use, let me just show. You can also use this subject. Soon after the subject, what do you put? You put used to. And after that, you put V1. So used to is a model. Like we have can, could, may, might. All these models are there. Used to is also a model. It can be used to talk about past facts, past habits, and then, of course, we use the simple past tense. So I used to play cricket in my school days. I used to be naughty in my childhood days, right? You can put it this way. Or I played cricket. Both mean the same thing. Both these sentences mean the same thing. I love to eat chocolate, but I'm on dieting now, so I can't. Good. They watched a movie last night, so we're talking about past only. It's a past event, past fact. We use this. I went to school by bus every day. When?
When I was a child.
When I was a child. Then the sense is complete, right? All of you, please remember, when you use simple past tense, mention the time, right? When I was a child. I went to school by bus every day when I was a child. Complete sense. So simple past, time is needed. When? Always try to answer this question. When? Yesterday, last year, in my childhood, in my previous organization, in my college days, when? So when you put that when, you use the simple past tense. Right, everyone? We can move on now?
Yes, ma'am.
Any question, any doubts? Okay.
No, ma'am, but can you write a rule for the tenses that you are explaining right now?
Sure, why not?
Ma'am, actually, go on when we use.
Okay.
When we
Although
are discussing
I'll be
third person.
explaining that later on, but if I don't give you some explanation now, it will keep on troubling you. So I'll just explain to you both the things. So first thing you asked me was to give you the rule for this simple past. So we use the subject. Whatever the subject is, I, you, he, she, everyone, whatever the subject is. And then we use this past form, that is V2, right? You can call it V2, or you can also call it the past form of the verb. Is the past form of the verb. And whatever you wish to put after that. Because there are different types of sentences. Some sentences may require object. Some sentences may require just an adjective. Yes, it was good. Was it good? Oh, yes, it was. It was good. Did you go there? Oh, yes, I went there. So you have I, subject, went is that V2, past form, there is the adverb. So I can't say that it can be subject, verb, and object. All sentences may not have object. So it can be the subject plus verb plus adjective, subject plus verb plus adverb, subject plus verb plus object. Right? She gave the gift to the beggar sitting on the road. So when we say she gave the gift to the beggar, so what kind of a sentence is that? She is the subject, gave is the verb, gave what? The gift. So the gift becomes the object. Right? So basic will be what? You have the subject plus V2, the past form. So this can be used for what? For past facts, past habits or routines, series of past events, one after another when the things happen. You use this. Past facts, past hobbies, past events, past any completed action in the past, series of past events. You can also use subject plus used to, as one of you gave that example, plus V1. When do we use this? This is used only for past, maybe routine, you can say, right? Hobby, we can say. So I'll just put routine, or it can also be for past fact. We do not use it for past events, past actions. Please remember that we do not use it
And
for past.
hobby also.
So routine covers everything, right? We can say
Okay.
hobby. I can mention that.
Ma'am, in case if a past sentence is
Mhm.
starting with the question.
So we'll move
Then-
on to the questions. I'll be explaining that to you.
Okay,
Remember,
okay.
some of you joined late. So in today's agenda, we have the questions, the negatives, and of course, all
Okay,
the
ma'am.
variants, right? We have
Okay,
all that. But one of you asked me this gone also. This also I'll be explaining. But let me just tell you, we have these forms of verbs. You have go, you have went, and then you have gone, right? The word gone, the past participle, we call it the past participle of V3. Remember, it's used with the perfect tenses: present perfect, past perfect, future perfect,
With have.
has or have in present, she's gone, he is gone, right? With had in past. But when do we use that past perfect? I'll be explaining to you. So for the time being, is this much clear?
Yeah, actually, when we use used to for the hobby or the fact or routine, which are actually long ago, right? Not the
Earlier.
recent past times. Which-
Past, do not use for present.
Yeah, which happened a long time ago.
Correct, absolutely right. Because for present, used to is used in a different way. In that, when you use it for present, then you always put the verb like I am. She is, like I am used to teaching online students now. I'm in the habit of something. So then you say, I am used to doing this. I'm used to writing such things. I'm used to explaining some things. So you're used to something. You're putting ing form of the verb. But when you talk about the past habit, the past fact, how do we put it? Soon after the subject, you put used to. I used to. In this case, soon after to, what do you put? You put V1. I used to play a lot in my childhood.
But in present, we will be using ing in the
But
verb.
in present, the meaning is also different. So in present, how do you use? You always put am, right? Or you say, I'm used to. If I say I'm used to, I'm talking about something in the present only. I'm used to what?
Present hobby.
For example, when I came to this city, I used to be really scared of driving on the roads, but now I am used to driving on such, like I'm used to driving in the congested areas also. That means now I've got that habit, or I've got
It is must, right?
accustomed to it.
Yeah, it is must, right? We have to use ing in the present form.
If you
It
put,
is the must rule, right?
if you are putting like this, I am used to. Remember, you cannot say I used to driving. That is wrong.
Yeah, that will be go to past.
That is wrong, right? How do we use it? You put the subject. How is it formed? By using was or were plus verb with ing form, right? I was walking to the store. She was eating breakfast. See, present continuous, you put is mr. Past continuous, the helping verb. Be is the helping verb, the auxiliary. You put it's was and were. So remember, be verb is, it's so useful. It's a useful tool for us. You can use it in so many ways, as the main verb also and as the helping verb also. So there are three verbs which are really helpful: be, have, do. We should know how to use them correctly. So I was walking to the store when it started raining. So we have was walking at what time? When it started raining, right? She was eating breakfast when I arrived. You see now, this part is in simple past tense. They were watching a movie when I called.
Yeah.
Verbs of perception, right? Verbs of perception, verbs of senses. Oh, it was tasting good. No. What should it be?
Tasted good.
It tasted good.
Taste good.
Same is the case in the present also. Verbs of perception, verbs of senses should not be used in continuous tense, right? The meaning is different. When
Okay,
if I,
ma'am.
right? If I tell someone, you don't know, yesterday I went to the doctor, I was hearing different sounds all the time. I was hearing, that means all the time it was a non-stop kind of thing. But
I heard sound
that
of
something was wrong, right? Something was wrong. It was disease then. Something was wrong. So the meaning changes, everything changes then. So verbs of perception, senses, be very careful. So common mistake, this knowing is a common mistake. Let's move on. Shall I? Everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So past perfect, there are two more left now. And then of course we move to the negatives and the questions. So past perfect. So we Indians are in the habit of using past perfect even for single events. Oh, yesterday I had gone to the market. Wrong. How do we use past perfect? You put had plus the past participle form or the V3, like gone, But when do we use it? Understanding of that is important. So it's used to describe an action that was completed before another past action or event. So remember, we are talking about two events over here. IELTS students, if you are IELTS academic student, you get those charts. Suppose two things are shown over there, one of 1950, another of 1990. So by 1990, something had changed, right? Something had changed. That's the way it should be. Something had happened, something had changed. Something had moved by a certain time, before a certain time. So let's see now how we have it. So we use had, and we use past participle form of the verb, like go, went, gone, right? Write, wrote, written. So written is the past participle form of the verb. So I had walked to the store before it started raining. So remember, two things happened: walked and started. What happened first? You walked first. So I had walked to the store before it started to rain. Then here again, had already eaten breakfast by the time I arrived. They had finished watching the movie before I called. So had finished and called. So I called and they finished. What happened first? They finished watching the movie first. So we put that part in past perfect tense. So two things happened: the first event and the second event. So the first event you put in past perfect tense. Second event you put in simple past tense. Will you remember this trick? The first event, so when do we use past perfect tense? We use it at one or two other places also. I'll explain that to you. But when we talk about the past events, remember when we talk about the past events, when do we use it? When we are talking about two events, the first and the second. We are not talking about the series of past events. We're talking about two events where there was some time gap. For the first event, you use the past perfect. For the second event, you use the simple past. For example, let's take an example that yesterday I had to go to Delhi, right? But I missed my train. So two things happened. I reached the station and the train left. What happened first? What do you think happened first?
The train left first and then you reached the station.
How should I talk about it or how should I write about it?
I missed the train when I had reached the station.
What happened first? You reached first or the train left first?
The train left first.
So that part should be in past perfect, right? So the
Okay,
train, come on, help me to complete it. The train.
The train
Had left the station
good.
before I
had
reached.
left the station before I reached.
Very good. Had left the station before I reached there.
I arrive.
I reached there, right? Okay, I had eaten my dinner before my friend arrived at my place, right? So the train had left the station before I reached there. Will you be able to remember this simple rule? Two actions of the past. For the first one, use past perfect. For the second one, we use simple past.
I have a query right now.
Yes, please ask. Why not?
In the first example that you're showing to us, I had walked to the store before it started to rain. It might also be correct if I change it to I had walked to the store before it started raining.
Yes, that's also correct. That's also correct. Why is it correct? I understand. It started to rain. It started raining. Remember, verbs are so interesting. That's an interesting part of speech. Verb can be used as noun, verb, adjective, adverb. See, it can be used like that. So it started what? It started to rain. It started what? It started raining. Right? So we can say it started to rain, it started raining. Only the meaning will change slightly. You can. Suppose you are talking about a series of past actions. One thing happened after another. Then you put it this way. They finished watching the movie before I called. One after another they happened. If there was a slight gap, right? They had finished watching the movie before I called. Could be 1 hour earlier, right? Could be 2 hours earlier. So that slight difference in the meaning is there. Clear to you?
Or we can use just also. They just finished watching the movie before I called.
They had just finished.
Just. Okay.
Yes. We can move on now to the next one. Clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Common
Yes, ma'am.
mistakes.
Yes,
These were the ones which were discussed earlier also before many of you joined us. So incorrect verb form, where you are supposed to use like maybe you are supposed to use wrote, you use righted. So that kind of mistakes are there. Incorrect verb tense is there, where past tense is to be used, the present is used, where simple past, then present perfect. That way, overusing the past perfect tense, which is a tendency of most of us. For single event, also we keep on using the past perfect tense. So this is because most of us are in that habit. So we need to check ourselves. Incorrect use of irregular verbs. So as I told you that teached that way or put it. So if you do not know the correct form of the irregular verb in the past, then you tend to just add ed to it, which turns out to be wrong. So how do we form questions? And this was a question in between. How do we form questions and negatives in the past tense? So to form questions, simple rule. Again, just remember the technique of doing that. That's it. Auxiliary verbs. In the past, we are talking about the past. So in the past, did can be used, was or were. So did is the form of the verb do, and was and were are the past forms of the verb be. So first you use any of these, then you put the subject, then you put the base form of the main verb. Did. See now see the word did over here? Then we have the subject, did you? And then we have the verb. Did you eat breakfast this morning? So we cannot say, did you eat breakfast this morning? Did you eat breakfast this morning? Look at the next one. Were they at the party last night? Were they at the party last night? Were they there? Was
B, ma'am. B.
Yes, sorry?
Were they at the party last night? Who is the verb here?
Were they look at this sentence, they were at the party last night. How do you ask a question? They were at, oh yes, they were at the party last night. Were they at the party last night? So we're using the word were to ask the question. What he was happy. Was he happy?
Okay.
This is the verb. See, was and were can be used as the main verbs also. They can be used as the helping verbs also.
And basically, I find the main verb after subject.
If you are using did you eat?
Yeah, it is a main verb. Fine,
Right.
I understand.
But I cannot say, I cannot say was he eat or were you eat? We cannot say that, right? Were you happy? Like what kind of sentences will you ask questions over here? If was he happy? So let's look at the sentence. He was happy. How will you ask the question for this? He was happy. What's the verb over here? Was is the verb. But while asking the question, you put it at the beginning. Was he happy? Right? Look at the next one. They were at the party, right? This is the way the sentence is. They were at the party. So how do you ask the question? Were they at the party? Right? But if I just use if I use do over here, did, right? Did they attend the party? Look at this now. We have the action verb over here, right? They attended the party. How do we frame the question for this? Then we use the form of the verb do, did. Did they attend? Did they attend the party, right? This is what we do then. Have you understood?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let's look at some negatives also. I have something in the chat box too. Was he drive the car? Oh no, this is wrong. How should we? So it becomes the helping verb when you have the continuous tense.
Did he drive the car?
No, but if you're talking about an action that was in progress, how will you put it? Let us help her. We need to correct this sentence. Come on, correct it. Was he drive the car is wrong.
Did he drive?
Driving the car?
Was it? Oh,
Yeah,
very good.
Did.
So one is, was he driving the car? Was he driving the car? When they met with the accent, was he driving the car? And this has a different meaning when you put it this way. Did he drive the car? Did he drive the car yesterday? Did he drive the car?
Ma'am, can I like use the sentences? Didn't he drive the car?
Didn't he? So that's negative. We are just moving
It's
on.
a negative, yeah.
And absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Right? Let's look at the negatives. To form negatives, we put did and then the base form of the verb. Common mistake. Common mistake is, did he knew about it? Come on, correct this. Did he knew about it?
Did he know about it?
Very good. Did he know about it? So she didn't go to the concert last night. You see now how she didn't go. We put go. They did not finish. They did not finish, or they didn't finish. So it's not they did not finished. He didn't enjoy. We cannot say he didn't enjoy it. He didn't enjoy it. So what do you have to remember? When you use do, did, does, all these verbs, do, does are in present. Past, it's did. So let's talk about the past. So when you use this did in the past to talk about anything in negative, to ask a question, the main verb is put in its present form, the base form, right? So he didn't enjoy the movie very much. Let's look at B, as I told you, some, the B verbs and some models do not require an auxiliary verb to form negatives. They do not require the auxiliary verb. Which verb? The helping verb with them. Were you there? Oh, no, I wasn't there. So how do we put it? I wasn't there. It does not require another helping verb, right? I wasn't there. Now let's look at for example, let's look at the verb could. Oh, I couldn't. Because the model itself is a helping verb. So you just put couldn't. I couldn't do it. I couldn't help her, right? You shouldn't go there. So you just put not after them. You should not do it. You should not go there. That's the way you make. But in the past, if you have to use, this is the way it is. Clear to everybody? Any doubts? Any question?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, how do we use have in the negatives or in the questions?
Have you understood? Haven't you understood?
It's a present, but past tense we use
Present.
had.
Hadn't he, right? Hadn't he heard his teacher that he behaved in that way? Hadn't he finished his work before going up, right? Something like that. Use them.
Okay.
Let's look at the conditionals. If hypothetical situations. So there are 4 conditionals. We can say 0 conditional, the first, the second, the third. We'll not talk about the 0 in the first one. They're all in present tense, right? Let's talk about the ones where we use the past tenses. So one is we use simple past after if. How do we have the sentence there? If I had more money, I would buy a car. Now tell me, I'm talking about past or present over here?
Past.
Future.
Past, ma'am.
We are talking about past.
Okay. Many of you understand Hindi, I think. If I put it this way, अगर मेरे
Yes.
पास और पैसे होते तो मैं कार खरीद लेती. This kind of a sentence. Am I talking about past?
Yes,
No.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes.
you are talking about the past because if
Past.
you would have, then you would have buy the car.
No. आज अगर मेरे पास और पैसे होते तो मैं खरीद लेती.
It is present.
Present.
Right? नहीं है तो मैं नहीं खरीद सकती हूँ. That kind of a thing. So if I had more money, I would buy a new car. It's an unreal situation in the present, but with a past tense verb form. For example, right?
Ma'am, what is the past form of the will?
It is representing that if I had.
Would. That would be
Would, yes.
Will, would. So if I had more money, I would buy a new car. What are we using over here? We are using would.
Would, yeah.
The main clause. If I had more money, if I see in these beauty pageants, the questions are asked like this only. They're all hypothetical. Okay, if you got a chance to go to the moon, whom would you take with you? So how is the question? If you got a chance, so that's in past, right? Don't we regret at times? We feel sorry. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't get a chance to do this. You're talking about past. So here we have past perfect tense. We have past perfect tense over here. If I had studied harder, I would have passed. We're talking about past.
Ma'am, what is the role of here is would?
Sorry?
Would. I am confused in the would.
I would have
would. Yes.
hypothetical situation. Hypothetical situations, we use
Okay.
would in such cases. Like I would have passed the exam. I would have done this. If you had told me earlier, I would have helped you. Common mistake is what? Let me tell you, common mistake which people make is if you would have told me earlier. So this is wrong. In the if clause, we do not use would, right? If you would have told me earlier is wrong. This is a wrong sentence. I would have helped you. This is wrong. Now help me to correct it. अगर मुझे पहले बता दिया होता तो मैं help कर देती.
If you have told me earlier, I would have helped you.
Very good.
Yeah, if you had told me, would have helped you.
Perfect, excellent. So in the main clause in conditionals, in these hypothetical conditionals, we use would. I would have helped. But then since you did not tell me, I did not help you, right? So we are talking about something that was not done in the past. Why? Because a condition wasn't. That's why.